In recent days, it's been sad to hear the news of the loss of Peter Severin, someone who'd been known well to yourself and many members of the House. Peter Severin served South Australians well as the Chief Executive of the Department for Corrections for a number of years, from 2003 to 2012. The Minister, Emily Burke, issued a ministerial statement earlier, so I don't propose to retread all of those comments, but just to highlight for context some of the service he provided. Peter Severin was born in Germany, trained as a social worker, and started his career in the prison service in Germany. Coming to South Australia, obviously, as the service, which wasn't insignificant, for 9 years as Chief Executive in that department, and then went on to become the Commissioner of Corrective Services in New South Wales for another 9 years, from 2012 to 2021, and did some work in Queensland as well, and did some work internationally as part of his role with the International Corrective Services Association. The significant regard in which he was held was well, it was profound. Sir, when you were the Minister for Corrections and I was your Shadow Minister, one of the things that I observed during that time, I think it was about 18 months, maybe a touch under 2 years, when I had the privilege of holding that portfolio after the 2014 election, was the number of people who work in this field with scarce resources trying to improve community safety, despite sometimes a regrettable lack of political interest. Around the world, sometimes necessity is the mother of innovation and invention, and probably in all areas of government service, there are very few where that is more relevant than corrections. Peter Severin dealt with scarcity, but he also was an innovator. He was somebody who, from what I could see from opposition benches, always sought to be thoroughly innovative in his way of dealing with whatever he had to get the best outcome from the people of South Australia. It wasn't always an easy situation. I remember that there were sometimes issues with the unions that were arguing for pay in that area or conditions, and there were sometimes really difficult conversations to be had. And Peter Severin would confront those conversations head on. He would have, I understand he had a great relationship with Peter Christopher from the association, and indeed would work to resolve issues as quickly as they could be done in a difficult environment. Despite sometimes the terrible crimes committed by the people who are in our corrective services system, Peter was somebody who understood that the rehabilitation of a prisoner was not just a matter of moral clarity, but was about community safety as well, because if that prisoner was going to become a member of the community, a member of society, then it was critically important that they be rehabilitated. And his work in South Australia led to that. He had a couple of examples, not only bringing some conditions at places like Yatala, the women's prison, Mount Gambier and Port Augusta to 20th century, if not 21st century standards, he also had a significant expansion of rehabilitation services. He was good enough to lend me some of his time when he was the Commissioner in New South Wales. Indeed, I was hoping to meet him, and he actually made time in his personal time to come and meet me when I wasn't available. Not to talk about anything behind the scenes, but just to talk about the philosophy of good stewardship of a prison system. He also was kind enough to introduce me to some of his colleagues in England, and I was able to visit the Lewis prison as a result of his introduction to Tony Challinor to see how they did things. He encouraged me to take an opportunity in New Zealand when you, sir, offered to take me with you, and he said that that was an outstanding idea and the opportunity to look at rehabilitation systems offering best practice. Peter's deputy was David Brown, who to this day continues as our Chief Executive. And I asked David for his reflection, and he said, thank you. This is David's quote, Peter was a dear friend and mentor. His sudden and unexpected passing is a big shock. Peter and his wife Isabel returned to Adelaide at the beginning of this year. They were very happy to be home. Peter was still very busy in his role as President of the International Corrections and Prisons Association. He was meant to be heading off to Poland in a couple of weeks to represent ICPA, and he will be missed by many. David's longer comments can be seen in the ministerial statement. I didn't know Peter for very long, but the engagements I had with him, and I also recognise Duncan McFetridge, thank you for the introduction. The engagements I had with him highlighted to me somebody whose conviction, his principles and his work ethic were utterly dedicated to serving a community, whether here in South Australia, in New South Wales or around the world, and he will be missed. I pay my respects to his family.
I would echo those comments from Member Moriarty, and I would say that his replacement has done a sterling job as well. David Brown, I think, has maintained that philosophy which Peter had in the prison system.